Most of us, including probably you, have been through some challenging moments in our life. Today, I'm sharing with you an interview with a student who has been through a really tough time and has used painting as part of her recovery through that time. I'm also going to be sharing with you later on about a free workshop you can be involved in. Maybe you could use that to help bring some calm to your life too. But let's get on and listen to this interview. Before I share with you this interview, I just wanted to give you a warning that this is about someone in her life that passed away. So if you don't want to listen to that, just stop watching right now. But it is a really special interview where she shows how she actually moves through that process really beautifully. And I think you're going to benefit from listening to how oil painting and how doing something creative, even if it isn't with me, is really helpful when you're moving through grief. So let's hear her story now.
Well, hello.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
It's good.
Yeah.
Today I have one of my students here, Kerry, who's been with us for how long?
2021 I started, so about 3 years.
3
Yep.
years. There's been a bit of a break in between.
Yeah.
We'll hear about that in a minute. So I just thought it'd be really cool for people to hear a bit of your story because it's really beautiful. And what you're doing now and the work you're doing now is remarkable and amazing. And I can see how much it's been helpful for you.
Yeah.
So do you want to just share a little bit about the experience of maybe why you started painting and what it's been like for you?
Yeah. So I have always drawn and been a creative person. I did art at high school and things like that. But in 2021 I had a bit of a tragedy kind of before myself and my family, and so my partner, who I'd been with for 14 years, had a brain aneurysm, and a couple of days later we were saying goodbye to him in hospital. So it was I was with him when it happened as well, so I had a lot of grief, obviously, but also trauma as well. So I think I remember it was Mother's Day. I was sitting in bed. I'd moved back home, with my parents, just for support, and I was like, I need something because I was very anxious. And I was struggling to be by myself, essentially. So I knew I wanted something that could distract my mind. I'd started to do like a little bit of paint by numbers just to get into it. But I thought I've always wanted to do oil painting, but I'd always struggled to find a kind of class that I thought would suit me. And then particularly at that time as well, I just needed the right one. And I've always loved kind of drawing realistically, sort of copying imagery, but a lot of kind of classes wouldn't teach that kind of style of art. So when I found someone that did that style of art, and then I was kind of looking at I think it was your website, and there was some videos and you were talking about also creating a space for people to kind of lose their minds in painting. I was like, wow, how did I just find this? It was exactly what I was looking for. So I was really nervous, but we were actually coming up to Alinda that day, literally, to go for lunch because it was Mother's Day. So Mum and Dad were like, oh, we'll stop in on the way home. And I kind of met you, and I was like, yeah, she has the feeling that I was looking for. The space was beautiful. So I decided to join up, and then we did. And then I think 2 weeks later we went back into lockdown.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Lockdown.
So it was good. I got to kind of make a start and meet you, but then we kind of transitioned to an online for probably 6 months.
Yeah, it was a while.
And then we but I've just kept coming back.
Lockdown, good old lockdown. So I pivoted too at that point, and we were all like trying to work it all out, and started doing some stuff online, and you joined me, which is cool. How was that experience for you?
It was, again, lucky that we were able to do that, really, because it was a really tough time for me, as you could imagine. Not only going through probably the kind of hardest stages of grief when all the adrenaline has left, and all to be kind of trying to work from home and do all of that was really hard. So having that outlet was fantastic, obviously. So I think that time I kept doing our weekly classes,
Yep.
and then I also picked up the Monday night classes where we were doing a small painting a week as well.
Yes. Yep.
So it was great to have both of those, a long-term project that I could always go back to,
Yep.
but then the quick projects were really helpful at that kind of early learning stages as well, because it just sort of taught me to let go a little bit and just go with it. So
yeah, and I think we'll hear more of your story in a minute, but just thinking about those small projects, because I'll be doing a bit more of the online stuff, and people watching this will be interested. I think what I've found really helpful with that process of the small paintings is that you just get out of your head, because you just got to get it done quickly, because I'm like, we got an hour or we got 2 hours and we're going to get it done. So that was helpful for you.
It really was. I think I remember just feeling like I was scrambling to get paint on the canvas, and it was like, okay, just make a triangle, get a lighter color, put it here, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh wow, I just painted the cutest duck I've ever seen.
The duck.
So it was a great way to learn quickly and just to get confidence quickly as well, but then you get something at the end of it.
It's cool. Wow. So you got through lockdown, and then you came back for a bit. And
I came back and finished the first big sort of painting that I did
here of it.
with
It's
you.
amazing.
Yeah. So made sure I had something I could get lost in the details, and there certainly were a lot of little scales to get lost in.
There was a lot of detail.
And I just found it's probably the first time I created something that I was really proud of, actually. And I think what it taught me was the longer you spend on something, the more you get out of it. And it's worth just, plugging away, because it was great. Like I think I always knew it would get somewhere. I always had the confidence that it would become something, even when it was at its really ugly faces. But to actually realise it was a pretty incredible feeling for me.
So do you mind me asking, in terms of, you've been through a lot of really tough stuff, and as you got to that moment of finishing that, like, could you see that how helpful that can you talk a little bit about the process of that helped you with the grief and stuff? I don't know.
I mean, obviously grief is something you need to work through, and no one thing gets you there, but I think what it gave me was just something in those times where mum and dad were going out, I was at home alone. Even if I didn't paint, I knew I could, and it was just something that gave me the confidence to go, you're going to be okay in those times when you're feeling really anxious and you're alone, that there is something you can pivot to. So it kind of took some fear out of living. Which sounds a bit dramatic, but in those days it was so I don't think I realised how hard, in retrospect, I can see it a bit more for what it was. But it was just having another thing another coping mechanism, and it was a pretty big one, actually, to know that, there was something I could rely on. And I guess also, actually, now I think about it too, there were so many changes that were completely out of my control, and I remember you saying to me, the canvas is always there. You can walk away and come back and it will still be where it was when you left it. And I was like, oh yeah, okay. But now I, again, can see that in hindsight that actually, it was a really helpful thing.
I'm feeling it because I've been there, not with what you have, but my own trauma, and that's why I love to teach it, because it helped me. So it's lovely hearing other people, get it. How helpful that is. So, and I'm loving now seeing your new piece, and that's been quite a journey. When you started it, you had a bit of a break, and you're back to it now. Want to talk about the current piece and how that relates to everything else?
So it's painting of kind of the Great Migration in Africa, and that's wildebeest coming down the river into that kind of unknown, and one of them in particular is kind of leaping out. And I remember at the time thinking, I think I'm ready for a bit of a leap of faith, I'm ready to kind of get back out into life. And interestingly, I wasn't probably as far ahead as I thought I was, but I was still making progress and all that kind of stuff. I think I started it, at a time where I needed to probably have a bit of foresight to something that I was going to get somewhere. I didn't know where, but I was ready to just start to open up.
Yeah.
But I was actually still crashing into the river. I didn't realize it at the time. But I think just having that view that, you'll get through it. I don't know how, but you'll get there. And just, again, it's like painting. You just, every day you keep on keeping on, and you'll go down, and those times feel really hard, like you're under the water. But then, you just, okay, next day, get up, go to work. Next day, get up, come to painting class, and then eventually you're back up. And I think so I did have a bit of a break. I went overseas with some friends, and it was amazing. I went to Europe. I've never been there before. But it was a big, intense holiday, and I think I got back and was pretty burnt out, actually. Work had been really busy and quite stressful as well, so I just had I think about 9 months where I didn't really paint. And then it was probably summer of last year, where I was like, no, I'm ready to come back. And I was ready to take that painting on. And I think probably about 3 or 4 months ago, something's happened, and all of that weight has actually just lifted from me. And I can look at even just the painting process is even more joyful now as well.
Amazing. So that picture, and I think what I love about when people choose a piece, sometimes you don't realise how it's actually reflecting back your life. And I love that process of you started into it and you were like, I know this, giving you hope, I suppose, telling the journey, and now. So what is it saying to you now, this actual picture? Like this?
I think that it's got an optimism to it that I'm feeling for, the first time in a long time. And, I'm not saying that, it was hard, but it wasn't dire. I was okay. But I didn't, I don't think I felt happy for 4 years. Essentially. I wasn't unhappy, but I wasn't happy, and now all of a sudden this optimism and light's coming into my life again. And there are sections in that image in particular that are just so joyful, and there's so much movement, and I kind of feel like that's where I'm getting to again, which is really exciting.
Something amazing about painting something that has a story that you're living through in the moment, because you've got that, and especially with the photorealistic style, it's because you're taking your time, and you're not rushing. It's like life, you can't rush it. You can't rush the grief process. All that stuff.
But it's funny, I don't think, I didn't know when I chose that image that it had that in it, and even the first one I did, there was something about that, that I was choosing it for more technical reasons. I wanted one with lots of detail, and this one I thought I want one with less color, and none of that actually was what I was looking for. But the image spoke to me in a deeper way that I've started unpacking as I think I've been painting it.
I love this side of the painting. Love it. Even if people don't realise I'm in the distance going, I know why you're painting that. It's so fun as a teacher. So cool. So back to a little bit of the practical side of it, like your techniques, what have you feel like you've learned over this time, and how's that been for you?
I've learned obviously how to use oil paint, because I had never done that before, and I'm still catching myself doing funny things, not having enough paint on the brush and not mixing up enough colour. They're things I constantly do. But so obviously using that, but then just it's just taking the time to build on top, or constantly build on top, that I think has been really really impactful for creating something that feels more finished, I guess. And then just looking at tone and shape in just constantly, because I'm a graphic designer, I do that at work, but it's a bit different when you're trying to create it. And every time you move something, I'm like, oh, why does that no longer look good? And then it's like, oh, problem solving.
Yeah, it is problem solving.
So kind of, yeah, that side of it. I think just that trying to concentrate on, you know, the small, because we do a grid system, those small squares, and not trying to work out necessarily what you're painting, but more what the shapes are. And it's really hard. That's the, like, for me, the hardest part, to like lose a sense of, oh, I'm painting this rock. It's like, no, just get the dark in there and get the light in there. And that's, I think, when I'm at my worst with it, I'm trying to paint what I think it is. And then when I'm at my best, it's because I realise I've done that. And I'm going, go back to where the dark is, or whatever it is.
Right.
Yeah.
That's it. And that's the simpleness of it, really. It's just trying to get your brain out of the way. Thinking, oh, I know how to draw a tree. It's green. But, actually, it's purple.
Yeah, why is there that colour in there? And I think the light, the lights and darks, or the contrast, it's been, that's probably the thing that transforms something from, you know, probably a photo to a painting, actually.
People watching this, you know, most of us have been through some form of grief, some a lot more than others, and, you know, how admirable that you have got to this point, because it's, you know, it's a full on managing what you've gone through. But, you know, for people watching, you know, some people are like, oh, yeah, no, I can't draw, I can't paint. Oh, you know, she can do it because she's a graphic designer or whatever. Oh, is there things you might like to say to someone watching who's really doubting that they could ever paint anything like what you have?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, we all, regardless of if we've drawn before, or if we've even used acrylic paint or whatever before, we all start from the beginning. And we're all our worst critics. And maybe sometimes when, you know, you've been able to produce things actually that in some ways you have other challenges, because you're used to being able to create something great quickly, whereas you've got to start again when you're oil painting. So I'd say, if you've never painted before, Heather, you know, steps us through each stage and is there to give you confidence. And it's, you know, for people that have done it before, I think you still get something out of it, because it's a different way of thinking, it's a different approach. And as far as, obviously, you know, my story, you know, does contain some pretty intense grief, but you know, you don't have to have gone through something to get something out of this either. You know, it's a confidence builder. It gives you something to be proud of. I've seen, you know, people come in and go, oh, I can't paint, I don't even know why I'm trying this. And then, you know, 3 months later they're starting their, you know, journey of their first painting, and you can see it already coming alive. And it's really exciting to be around, you know, other people, whether it's online or in the classroom. You can see how everyone's going, and actually seeing other people struggle sometimes helps your struggle, and vice versa. When they have a win, you have one too, you know.
It's a lovely community. You know, we've got, obviously we're mostly talking about the online, I mean the not online presence, but we're going to be doing more online, so encouraging people to, you know, be part of it if you want to. But I think it's really inspirational to see your journey, and to hear, you know, where you've come from. And you're not the only one in this class that's come through. You know, so many people join the class to help with their mental health. That's why I started it. So good on you.
Thank you.
I'm very excited about seeing this piece finished.
Yes, it's still a while away, but that's okay.
No, it's good. Take your time and enjoy the process. So thanks for doing this little interview.
Not at all.
And all the best for the future.
Thank you, Heather. Like I said, you've been a massive ally in getting me through all of this. As a, you know, it takes a whole community of people around you when you're going through things. And it, you know, I think my biggest support network all knew Jay, my partner. So that was really important. But it was actually a relief to have a group of people to come to that were separate from that as well, actually. So I thank you a lot. It has been a big help.
I'm glad. My pleasure.
Thank you. Thanks.
Good on you.
So I hope you found that interview inspiring. Kerry has really learnt so much from, you know, painting and coming to my sessions. And she really found, as you heard, the online classes really helpful. And she's really happy for me to use this video to help you as well be part of this free workshop coming up. I'm really excited about being able to teach you some things, but also we have an opportunity to be part of a membership where you'll be able to paint one of these once a month, which is really exciting. And I feel very privileged to be in a position to help people move through some of the challenges in their life. And it's all because I've had to move through my own challenges as well. And painting has been the thing that's brought me through and really totally healed me from so much pain in my life. So I'm excited that you might be able to join me. Click the link below to join up to the free workshop. I'm really excited and hope you can join me. So until next time, keep creating.